So let's dive into a play that's famous for, well, being famously confusing. Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. You probably heard the joke, right? It's a play where nothing happens, twice. But what if that nothing is actually everything? Let's try and unravel the meaning that's hiding in plain sight, right inside the wait itself.
The entire tone is set with the very first line. Estragon is just trying to take off his boot, and he says, "Nothing to be done." And that's it. That's the whole play in a nutshell. It's not just about a boot, of course. It's this huge philosophical question. In a world that feels absurd and makes no sense, what can you even do?
All right, so here's our game plan for getting our heads around this thing. We're going to look at the endless wait itself, then how our characters try to kill time. We'll get into the whole idea of memory being like a fog, explore their relationships, and see how it all leads back to that one big idea, nothing to be done.
Okay, first things first, the setup. It's so simple it's almost funny. You have two guys, Vladimir and Estragon. They're in a country road, next to a tree, and they're waiting. That's it. They're waiting for someone named Godot. The entire play is built on this one single solitary action, waiting.
And this is where you can see the genius of it. Look at the stage directions for Act 1 versus Act 2. They are almost identical. Same road, same tree, same time of day. The only difference? That little note, the tree now has a few leaves. It's such a subtle touch, but it tells you everything. Time is technically passing, but for our guys, nothing has changed. They are completely stuck in a loop.
And this right here, this is the reason why they're stuck. This little exchange happens over and over. One of them will say, "Let's go," but they never can. Why not? Because they're waiting for Godot. It's the one thing that gives their life any kind of purpose, and it's the very thing that paralyzes them.
So put yourself in their shoes. If you're stuck waiting, and you have no idea if the wait will ever end, what do? Well, you've got to find ways to kill time. For Vladimir and Estragon, this isn't just a distraction. It becomes their full-time job.
And they'll do literally anything. I mean, look at this list. It ranges from the totally mundane, like fighting with a boot, to the incredibly dark, like casually talking about suicide. They tell stories, they do jumping jacks, they even pretend to be other people. It's all just a frantic, desperate attempt to fill the silence and distract themselves from the vast emptiness of it all.
And Estragon basically says it out loud. He has this moment of clarity where he just admits what they're doing. All these little games, all this chatter, it's not just to pass the time. It's to convince themselves that they're actually real. The talking is proof of life.
Now, this is where things get really unsettling. Because if your present is just the same day on repeat, what does that do to your past? In this play, memory isn't something you can rely on. It's more like a fog that's constantly shifting, and you can't find your footing.
Let's go back to that one change in the scenery, the leaves on the tree. For Vladimir, this is his anchor. It's proof. See? Yesterday was real. But Estragon, he just dismisses it. He says it must have been a nightmare. He either can't remember yesterday or he refuses to.
And that's their whole dynamic, really. You have Vladimir, who's like the self-appointed historian, desperately trying to string events together into a coherent story. And then you have Estragon, who's just present. He's floating in this fog, forgetting things almost as soon as they happen. And the play never tells us which one is right.
The whole idea gets taken to an extreme with another character, Pazzo. When he shows up again in the second act, he's gone blind. And it's like his blindness has completely erased his sense of time. He just says it flat out. I don't remember yesterday, and tomorrow I won't remember today. All that exists is this one single moment.
And that's the big, terrifying question the play leaves you with. If you can't rely on memory, if there's no shared story of the past, then what makes you you? How do you know that anything you've done or suffered ever really mattered at all?
So in all this chaos and confusion, there is one thing that stays constant. They have each other, but their companionship is, well, it's a real mess. It's painful and complicated, but at the same time, it's absolutely necessary. Nobody here is alone, but nobody seems happy together either.
This line from Estragon just says it all, doesn't it? He shoves Vladimir away with one hand while pulling him closer with the other. Leave me alone, but don't you dare leave me. They drive each other crazy, but the thought of being alone out there is just too terrifying to consider.
And we see two versions of this in the play. You've got Vladimir and Estragon's codependency. Then you have the master and slave relationship between Pazzo and Lucky, who are literally tied together with a rope. Both relationships are deeply unhealthy. But in this empty world, even a brutal connection is better than no connection at all. They need each other just to have a sense of who they are.
So in the end, even these relationships can't save them. They don't break the cycle, they just reinforce it. And that brings us right back to where we started, this overwhelming feeling of paralysis. The weight just goes on.
Pazzo has this absolutely devastating speech where he just screams this idea. He says that life is just a quick flash of light between two long nights. We're born, we die, and it happens so fast that it's all one moment. It's one of the most bleakly beautiful summaries of the human condition ever written.
And here's the structure of that cycle, laid bare. The end of both acts follows this exact same script. The boy shows up with the same message, not today, but maybe tomorrow. They get that little spark of hope, they decide to leave, and then nothing happens.
We come to the very last lines of the entire play. And you read this and you think, okay, finally, they've made a decision. They're actually going to leave this time.
And then you get hit with that final stage direction. 3 simple words. They do not move. It's just a punch to the gut. The curtain falls on them, completely paralyzed. That little sliver of hope that Godot will come tomorrow is just enough to keep them trapped right where they are forever.
And that's where the play turns the spotlight back on us. Vladimir and Estragon are waiting for Godot. But we all have our own Godot, don't we? That one thing we're waiting for, the job, the relationship, the event that we think will change everything. So the real question Beckett leaves us with is, what are you waiting for?